Hi, I'm Zoe. Welcome to my booktube channel. Now that we are well and truly at the back end of the year, we're less than a month away from 2026, which is crazy town. I thought I would come on today and talk through some of my most anticipated book releases for 2026. Most of these recommendations will be fantasy or sci-fi. I'll be totally honest, I'm a bit out of the loop with a lot of the other genres that I read. So like romance, translated fiction, literary fiction, contemporary fiction. I am really out of the loop with a lot of the releases for that. But fantasy and sci-fi, I think I've got a pretty good hold on. And I have got a list, I think 15, 20 books. So I'm really, really excited to talk you through some of them. And of course, I'll have inevitably have forgotten about most of my most anticipated releases. If you haven't done so already, please do make sure to like and subscribe so you can be notified when I upload a new video. I do have a few more videos that I'm hoping to squeeze in before the end of the year, and then lots of new year content planned. That's hopefully going to prove an exciting time. Let's get to the list. So what I've done to kind of keep track of this, and I have done this for the past couple of years, is I've made like a list on Goodreads where I just tag some 2026 anticipated releases as they end up on the platform. So I'm just going to use this as like a quick way to go through the books that I'm most excited for that I've remembered to add to the list. First up is The Unicorn Hunters by Catherine Arden. I've never read anything from this author before, but I saw the title, was immediately intrigued, saw the cover, was obsessed. And then reading about it, I think this will be one that I would really enjoy. This is about an orphaned duchess who must journey into a world of myth and discover a power that may be her salvation or her demise. That sounds fantastic, sounds like a bit of me. I've heard really good things about Catherine Arden before as well, and I think is best known for the Winter Night trilogy, which is not one I've read, but it is on my list to get to at some point. And I just think this sounds really whimsical and enchanting. In the UK, this comes out in June, so that's a nice one for midway through the year, so that's exciting. Next up is a release by an author that I have already grown to really, really love. Victoria Aveyard is releasing her first adult fantasy novel, and that is going to be Tempest. I don't believe we have a cover for this yet, but what we do know is that she's written most of it to the Pirates of the Caribbean soundtrack. So I am all the way in. So this book is described as being set in a world inspired by the golden age of piracy. There isn't a full synopsis for this yet, but what we do know is that this will follow a former noblewoman facing execution for treason unless she helps the ruling empire capture their most wanted enemy, the last great pirate captain, and the only man she has ever loved. I fear I will be insufferable when this book comes out. We are due to get this at some point next year. So exciting. Next up is one I actually have a proof copy of, and it's technically already independently published, but the traditionally published version comes out in February, and that is Of Blood and Fire by Ryan Carhill. I've already talked about this in my book haul, I believe, my November book haul. Ryan Carhill is described as sort of the new big voice in epic fantasy, and I have been really excited for this series for a really long time. It's now being republished with the Broken Binding Publishing. This is the first book in their new imprint. They did send me this, so thank you to them. This is a really well-loved and very popular series. I've seen plenty of mutuals read this and enjoy it. From what I've seen, this is very sort of classic fantasy, Game of Thrones-esque vibes in terms of the world and the setting and things and the scale of things. I probably won't have time to start this until the new year, but I'm very excited nonetheless that I will get to read this a little bit early. Next up is a really fun one, I think anyway, or I'm hoping so. It's Operation Bounce House by Matt Dinniman. I have been on a Matt Dinniman kick this year. I have been reading and listening to Dungeon Crawler Carl for a fair chunk of this year, I think since about March. And Operation Bounce House is a complete new series from him, I believe. First of all, the title sounds absolutely bonkers. A man must fight for his planet against impossible odds when gamers from Earth attempt to remotely annihilate it in this epic, fast-paced novel. That does sound absolutely ridiculous in a good way. For a Matt Dinniman book. That comes out in February, another early in the year release. We also next year have the 8th book in the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. I've just finished book 5, so I'm a little bit behind. But next year there'll be another one. I think that comes out in May. Yeah, A Parade of Horribles comes out in May next year, so I'm excited for that one as well. Plenty more Matt Dinniman for me next year, I think. Next up is an author I've not read a lot of. We have Cleopatra by Sarah El-Arifi. I've read the final Strife by this author and I adored that book. It's absolutely fantastic fantasy book. I still have the second and third book in that trilogy to read. I desperately need to get to it. I didn't enjoy, I've already forgotten the name of it. Is it Feybound? I read not a lot of it before deciding to DNF it. I was devastated because it was romantasy and I really liked her writing. I thought I would enjoy this. It was not for me. But Cleopatra, with this author's writing style, I think this could prove to be a really, really beautiful story. So I am so looking forward to this. I love reimaginings of retellings anyway, especially if they're from that sort of feminist angle. I would have to assume this would be. This one is another February release, the back end of the month. It's the 26th. That's exciting. This next one's a bit of a fun one. I saw the cover and the title for this and I was immediately obsessed with the idea of it. This is Agnes Aubert's Mystical Cat Shelter by Heather Fawcett. I think this sounds fantastic. As somebody who emotionally and spiritually loves cats but is actually immensely allergic to them, I have to live my cat loving life vicariously through others and through books. So I am really looking forward to this. There are cats all over the cover. There's books. It just looks like a really fantastic time. It looks cute. It looks whimsical. There's a wizard. This is going to be pretty magical, I think. A woman who runs a cat rescue in 1920s Montreal turns to a grouchy but charming wizard to help save the shelter in this heartwarming cozy fantasy. Yeah. Doesn't that just sound wonderful? I really don't want to pick favourites, but I think this is up there in probably my top 3, at least, anticipated releases for 2026. This is A Snake Among Swans by Hannah Kaner. Hannah Kaner is the author of the Fallen Gods trilogy, which is Godkiller, Sunbringer, and Faithbreaker. This series holds a very special place in my heart. It was one of the series I read when I was getting back into reading. I was probably like a year back into reading at that point, and it reminded me why I loved epic fantasy stories growing up. I was raised on Lord of the Rings, and I love these big epic fantasy stories with these battles and found family and magic systems and gods and all those sorts of things. And Godkiller was just like a bite-sized but really well executed world for me. Every book was a 5-star for me. Trilogy is done. So the question is, what was next? A dark and propulsive new epic fantasy, an intricate tale of warring kingdoms, female rage, and a wild magic that refuses to be tamed. Female rage from Hannah Kaner sounds absolutely stunning. So I'm really, really looking forward to this one. I probably will do whatever I can to get myself a proof copy of this. I'll be sending Harper Voyager a really nice email promising them a kidney, firstborn, whatever they need. This book releases 30th of July. We don't have a cover yet, but I cannot wait to see what they do with the cover, because the covers for the Fallen Gods trilogy were some of my absolute favourites ever. Next up, we're going over to sci-fi a little bit here. Red Star Rebels by Amy Kaufman. My first introduction to Amy Kaufman was actually her fantasy duologies, The Isles of the Gods, and I've forgotten the other one, but I enjoy both. They were a really great series. Amy Kaufman is known for her sci-fi series, and she's also got 1 or 2 with J. Kristoff. I forget. Red Star Rebels, the tagline for this is 8 hours to stop an explosion, 8 hours to fall in love. High stakes, high chemistry, sci-fi romp about a stowaway girl and the richest boy in the galaxy racing against the clock to outwit a gang of mercenaries. I loved her writing in the fantasy duology I read. I have, which one do I have on my list? Illuminae Files. I will be reading next year, hopefully. So this just, again, sounds really fantastic. This, again, comes out in February, I think. This year, I finally got round to reading the Greenbone Saga, and I absolutely adored it. It was such a fantastic series. Fondeley has a new book coming out this year, and it's a standalone space opera called The Last Contract of Isako. This book sounds fantastic because there's corporate samurai. Isako is a legendary swordsman, but every legend has to come to an end. When her longtime client unexpectedly retires, she plans to follow to walk out into the frozen wasteland off their planet with her head held high and her family enriched by her legacy. But when a competitor offers her a final mission, it's one she can't refuse. Soon, she's thrust deep into a world of corporate espionage, duty-bound duels, and shadowy secrets. The sequel to what I think is probably my favourite book of this year, spoiler for a future video, Steel Gods by Richard Swan, comes out in March 2026. I cannot wait for this book. Richard Swan is probably my author of the year. He was a new to me author this year. I read the Justice of Kings trilogy, and then I read Grave Empire, which is set 200 or 300 years after the events of the Justice of Kings. And now I'm sat not so patiently waiting for Steel Gods. I can't wait. I really, really can't wait for this series. It's a fantastic epic fantasy series with sort of grimdark tones, particularly Grave Empire. I've said this before, I'll say it again. Please read The Justice of Kings first. It's a fantastic trilogy. I think it's really accessible. Fantastic storytelling. The first book has a murder mystery and then it just expands from there. It's fantastic. Grave Empire absolutely blew me away, and I think the sequel is going to be so exciting. I know Richard Swan has kind of said this is like his magnum opus, so I am so excited. So excited to get my hands on this. Another one I have a proof of, which is so exciting, is The Book of Fallen Leaves. This comes out in March with Aubert. This is Shogun meets Game of Thrones in an unmissable retelling of an ancient Japanese samurai saga written by debut author. This is massive, first of all, but also just sounds fantastic. I'm loving the resurgence of samurai books that we seem to be getting recently. I feel like there's been more samurai fantasy books of late. This sounds absolutely phenomenal. Again, I probably won't get to this before the end of the year, but I will read this pre-release, hoping for January to really lock it and get through a couple of the proofs that I do have. And this just sounds fantastic. And if this cover is anything to go off, the vibes are going to be immaculate. I only found out we were getting this book today. We're getting a Children of Time book 4. Adrian Tchaikovsky is without a doubt one of my favourite sci-fi authors. He holds a very special place in my reader heart because my dad also adores his books. We actually went to his event for Shroud, which was a phenomenal read, by the way, and my dad got to meet him, and it was the cutest interaction I've ever seen in my life. My dad had never been to a book event before. The Children of Time trilogy is a really fantastic trilogy. It does get kind of more as you go through. First book, phenomenal. Second book, it kind of develops. And the third book, I was like, what is going on inside this author's head? Where did this come from? How did we get here? But I still enjoyed it. I think doing only audio for that was probably a huge mistake. I would like to get physical copies of these and reread them. I guess I was unsure if we were going to get a book 4. He said at the event we went to in February that the door was kind of open to a book 4, which now obviously we know, like, he was probably writing this at the time. I cannot wait to see what he does with this storyline now, because it's grown exponentially from that first book. If you told book 1 me where we would be at the end of book 3, I would not have believed you for a single second. It was just mind-blowing. And the fact we're getting a book 4, I am so excited. And I'm excited because my dad's going to be excited. And he's literally my favourite person to buddy read with, as much as he reads ahead though. I've realised I've not said the name of it. Children of Strife, same world. I'm assuming further again in the future, as he has done with this series so far. He kind of jumps ahead in future, following, if not the same exact characters, he falls down the generations, I guess. Children of Time is a space opera, and the first book follows kind of a mission to move into a planet gone wrong. You'll find yourself rooting for alien spiders, and I think that's all I kind of want to say about it, because that was truly my takeaway. Back to some fantasy. Emily Varga has a new book coming out next year. The River She Became comes out in July. I think it's June in the US, July in the UK. I read For She Is Wrath. I was part of the early review team, and it was such a fantastic young adult fantasy novel. I was just going to say earlier this year, but it wasn't. It was last year. It was last November. It was lovers to enemies, which was such a refreshing trope to read in a fantasy book, and it was absolutely fantastic. I have been sat very patiently waiting for Emily Varga's next book, and it's going to be here next year. It's a high-stakes, action-packed romantasy where a relic hunter searches for an ancient fey object to restore the magic to her world, but must learn to trust her own powers and her heart. That sounds absolutely fantastic. I really enjoyed this author's writing, and particularly the setting. The setting was so rich in the descriptions, the sights and smells and stuff. It was very, very immersive, and talking about the food in the setting as well. It was just all very well-rounded, and I think that really helped kind of put me into the setting, and I'm really excited to see what she does with this. It sounds wonderful. Another sci-fi one, we have the next Murderbot book. This is another series that I'm a little bit behind on. I've not read up to book 7, but next year we're getting Platform Decay. This series is by Martha Wells. I've enjoyed all the Murderbot books I've listened to. It's a really fantastic sci-fi story. I did recently talk about the novellas in my short books to read before the end of the year. I would recommend the Murderbot series, and I am excited for more next year. Get back into it, and then I'll have this one in May by the looks of it. And last up, aside from the fantasy and the sci-fi, we are getting the English translation of volume 14 of Frieren Beyond Journey's End. Frieren is my favourite manga, my favourite anime. I adore this world. I am slightly behind on my manga read. There is a reason for that. It's gone on an indefinite hiatus. Honestly, it puts a real fear in me because I love this series. We are getting volume 14 next year. I think that leaves me 3 or 4 to read to catch up on. I'm really excited. I'm just nervous at how long we may have to wait. We will have season 2 of the anime, I think early next year, or is it summer? I forget. We have got season 2 of the anime coming. I'm going to be bereft if this goes on a really long hiatus, but it's fine. Artists, authors absolutely need to take time for themselves, work on their health, their mental health. It's understandable. We're still allowed to be a little bit sad about it. That was my 2026 anticipated book releases. This isn't an exhaustive list, as I say. These are just the ones that I'm like most excited for. Any that I have forgotten, because I absolutely will have, I'll put it either in the description or I will put a comment down below adding some books that I've forgotten about. Please do let me know in the comments below what your most anticipated release is for next year. Are there any that we're both excited for? If you enjoyed this video, please do remember to like and subscribe. It means the absolute world. And yeah, time to get back to reading in our last month of 2025. It'll soon be like yearly wrap-up time and I just can't believe it. It's some of my favourite booktube content though, as a consumer to watch, like end of year and new year content. I absolutely love it. I'm really excited for 2026. I think we've got a really fantastic reading year ahead of us. I will hopefully see you in my next video. In the meantime, happy reading. Bye! I'm hoping I've not forgotten too many books. I'll be devastated if there's like a really obvious one that I've forgotten about. I'm looking at my shelves like, what else have I got next year? We'll see. 2026, just around the corner.